What if the loss you fear is actually the door to your freedom? Growing older often feels like a series of let-goings. It can be exhausting to try and keep the world still, but there is a way to move through life with grace. There is a way to find steady peace amidst the storms. In this video, we share ancient pillars of wisdom to soften the grip. We will explore how to release the anxiety of constant change. You will learn to turn the pain of loss into strength. This is not just theory, it is a path to healing. Understanding this will change how you see your life tomorrow. I am so glad you are here at Son.Mindfulness. If you seek a calmer heart, please join our community. Simply subscribe to walk this path of peace with us. I wish you deep health, happiness, and many blessings. Now, let us look at why we feel so shocked when change happens. It starts with a gap between our heads and our hearts. Let us begin our journey together. Part 1. Head versus Heart. Why we struggle with change. Welcome, my dear friends. Please take a comfortable seat, perhaps with a warm cup of tea, and let's just sit together for a moment. Look around your room, feel the weight of your body in that chair, and notice the quiet air between us. I want to talk to you today about a strange, almost haunting gap that exists in the heart of being human. It is the distance between what we know in our heads and what we actually see with our hearts. Think about it for a second. We all know, intellectually, that everything changes. We've lived through enough autumns to see the maples turn from vibrant red to bare branches. We've watched our children grow, their voices deepening, their lives moving further away from our constant reach. We see the fine lines around our own eyes in the morning mirror, the silent footprints of time. We have the information. We might have read dozens of books on philosophy or nodded along during Sunday sermons when the speaker said, "Nothing lasts forever." But here's the question I want to ask you. Why is it that, despite all this knowledge, we are still so profoundly shocked when life actually happens? Why does the heart still break into 1,000 pieces when a long-term relationship ends? Why do we feel a sense of betrayal, as if the universe has broken a promise when a doctor gives us news we didn't want to hear? It's because there is a vast, silent canyon between knowing and realizing. In the ancient Buddhist tradition, we have a very specific word for this gap: avidya. In the West, we often translate this as ignorance, but I've always found that translation a bit harsh, even misleading. When we hear ignorance, we think of someone who hasn't gone to school or lacks data. But avidya isn't a lack of data. You could have a PhD in Buddhist studies, you could have memorized every scripture, and still be living in avidya. A better way to understand it is unawareness, or not seeing the reality of the present moment as it unfolds. It is a failure to witness the rising and falling of life where it actually matters. Right here, right now. I remember a dear friend of mine, a retired professor named George. He spent his whole life teaching physics. He understood entropy. He knew the universe was constantly shifting. But when he lost his wife of 40 years, he sat in my garden and told me, "I feel like the sun has stopped rising." I knew this could happen, but I never truly believed it would. That is the gap. We live our lives as if we are the exceptions to the rule of change. We treat our health, our status, and our loved ones as if they are permanent statues, and then we are devastated when the statue moves. Avidya is the fog that makes us think the clouds are the solid sky. To bridge this gap, we don't need more books. We need a different kind of looking. I want you to try something with me right now. Close your eyes for just 3 seconds and notice your breath. Notice how the cool air enters, pauses for a tiny fraction of a moment, and then leaves. That breath you just took, it's gone. It will never return. And yet, you didn't grieve for it, did you? You let it go because you trusted the next one would come. But what if we could see our emotions the same way? Have you ever sat quietly and watched a feeling of irritation or anxiety arise in your chest? If you don't feed it with stories, if you don't say, "I am angry because he said this," if you just watch the physical sensation, you will notice something miraculous. It shifts, it pulses, it loses its grip, it eventually vanishes to make room for something else. This is what the Buddha was pointing to. Wisdom isn't an idea. It's the lived experience of watching things arrive and depart without trying to stop them. In psychology, we talk about cognitive dissonance, where our beliefs don't match our reality. Avijja is the ultimate cognitive dissonance. We believe in a solid world while living in a liquid one. This not seeing is what makes us build our houses on sand and then cry when the tide comes in. I want to ask you, in your life right now, what is the one thing you know is changing, but your heart is still treating as if it should stay the same? Is it your role in the family? Your physical strength? A memory of how things used to be? The first step to freedom isn't fixing the change. It's simply acknowledging with great tenderness that we have been looking away from the truth. It's about closing that gap between the head and the heart. When we stop being ignorant of the rising and falling, we don't become cold or indifferent. Quite the opposite. We become like a person watching a beautiful sunset. We don't try to grab the sun and pull it back up. We just watch with a quiet, reverent awe because we know it's precious precisely because it doesn't last. Are you ready to stop just knowing and start truly seeing? Let's walk deeper into this together. Would you like me to continue with part 2? The nature of conditioned phenomena, exploring how our bodies and moods are like the weather, always shifting based on conditions? Part 2, the nature of conditioned phenomena. I want to invite you to look at a flower sitting in a vase, or perhaps a tree outside your window. It looks so solid, doesn't it? It looks like a single, independent thing. But if we look with the eyes of a scientist or the heart of a Buddha, we see something much more complex. That tree is not just a tree. It is sunshine. It is rain. It is the minerals from the soil, and it is the labor of the earth. If you remove the sun, the tree disappears. If you remove the water, the tree ceases to be. This is what we call a conditioned phenomenon. In the ancient Pali language, the Buddha said, "Sabba sankhara anicca." This means that everything, and I mean everything, that arises because of conditions must also pass away when those conditions change. It sounds like a dry philosophy, doesn't it? But let's bring it closer to home, right into your living room, right into your own body. Think about your mood this morning. Perhaps you woke up feeling a bit heavy, a bit gray. Why? Maybe it was the rain hitting the roof, or perhaps it was that late-night snack that didn't sit well, or a fleeting memory of a friend you haven't called in years. Your mood was conditioned by those things. It wasn't you. It was just the weather of the mind. And just like the weather in New England or the fog in San Francisco, it cannot stay forever. I often talk to my students here in the States about their health as they cross the threshold of 60 or 70. A gentleman I know, a former marathon runner, came to me recently with deep frustration. He said, "Father, my knees are failing me, my energy is gone, I feel like I'm losing myself." I looked at him with all the love in my heart and said, "Your body is a masterpiece of conditions." For decades, the conditions were strength, youth, and high metabolism. Now, the conditions have shifted to time, wear, and the natural slowing of the cells. You are not failing. The conditions are simply doing what conditions do. They are changing. Have you ever felt that same frustration? That feeling that your body or your mind should obey you, like a loyal servant? We treat our lives as if we are the masters of the house, but we are more like guests in a hotel. We don't own the furniture, and we can't stop the staff from rearranging the room. In psychology, we often see people suffer because they have a fixed mindset. They want their identity to be a solid rock. But the Buddha suggests a flowing mindset. If you see that your anger is just a result of being tired and hungry, you don't take the anger so personally. If you see that your joy is a result of a kind word and a good night's sleep, you enjoy it without trying to bottle it up. Imagine you are standing in a river. The water touching your ankles right now is not the same water that touched them a second ago. The river is just a name we give to a constant movement of water. You are that river. Yourself is a name we give to a constant movement of thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. When we realize this, a great weight lifts off our shoulders. We stop asking the clouds to stay in one shape. We stop asking the sunset to freeze its colors. And we stop asking our bodies and our lives to be something they were never meant to be. Permanent. I want you to ask yourself today, what am I fighting against? That is simply the natural result of changing conditions. Is it the way your children are living their lives? Is it the way your memory isn't as sharp as it was at 30? When you see that these are just conditioned phenomena, you stop being a victim of life. You become an observer of a grand natural process. There is such a profound peace in saying, it is like this right now because the conditions are like this. This isn't giving up, it is giving in to the truth. And the truth, as they say, is the only thing that can truly set us free. So let's take a breath. For all the things we cannot control, let's give thanks for the conditions that are good, and let's hold space for the conditions that are difficult. Neither will stay. And that is perfectly okay. Would you like me to move on to part 3? What are we truly clinging to? Where we dive into the psychology of our identities and the stories we tell ourselves. Thank you for your trust, son. Let us move deeper into the heart of this matter, where we begin to look at the invisible threads that tie us to our suffering. Part 3. What are we truly clinging to? I want to share a story about a woman named Clara who used to visit our temple here in California. Clara was a retired nurse, a woman who had spent 40 years being the healer of her family and her community. When her children grew up and moved to different states, and her husband passed away, she fell into a deep, dark well of depression. One afternoon, sitting in this very room, she sobbed and said, "I have lost everything. I don't know who I am anymore." I asked her a question that seemed a bit strange at the time. "Clara, are you grieving for your husband, or are you grieving for the Clara who was a wife?" She stopped crying and looked at me, confused. "What is the difference?" she asked. And that, my friends, is the heart of the third truth we must face. In Buddhism, we use the word upadana. It is often translated as clinging or attachment, but its most literal meaning is actually fuel. Like the wood that feeds a fire, or the oil that keeps a lamp burning, clinging is the fuel that keeps our suffering alive. But here's the secret that most people miss. We rarely cling to the thing itself. We aren't actually clinging to the house, or the money, or even the person we love. What we are truly grasping at, with white knuckles and a racing heart, is the feeling that thing gives us. We are clinging to the story of who we are in relation to that thing. Think about a relationship that ended in your life. Yes, you miss their voice, their presence, their touch. But look deeper, beneath the surface of the loss. Was there a part of you that felt secure only because they were there? Did you feel worthy or successful because you were part of that couple? When they left, it felt like a limb was torn off, not because of them, but because your identity was attached to them. We say, "I am a mother, I am a provider, I am a healthy person," or "I am a respected member of this club." These are all labels, tags we pin onto the flowing river of our lives. And when the wind of change blows those tags away, we feel naked. We feel lost. I want you to imagine you are holding a beautiful antique glass. You love this glass. It's thin, elegant, and it feels right in your hand. One day, it slips and shatters on the floor. The pain you feel isn't just for the glass, it's for the owner of the glass, who just died. You are now the person who lost something precious, and you hate that new identity. So you cling to the memory of the owner you used to be. This is what the Buddha called the 5 aggregates, the 5 piles of stuff that we mistake for a permanent self. Our body, our feelings, our perceptions, our mental habits, and our consciousness. None of these are you. If I asked you to point to yourself, where would you point? To your heart? That's just a muscle. To your brain? That's just tissue and electricity. To your name? That's just a sound your parents chose. We are like actors who have played a role for so long that we have forgotten we can take the costume off. One of my friends in the field of psychology once told me that the greatest fear humans have isn't death. It's the loss of identity. We would rather be miserable and known than peaceful and unknown. We cling even to our pain because at least it tells us who we are. I am the one who was wronged, or I am the one who struggled. But I want to ask you, who would you be if you let go of that story? If you didn't have to be the strong one, or the smart one, or the victim, what would be left? What's left is a vast, open, and beautiful space. It's the space where true freedom lives. The next time you feel that tightness in your chest, that I must have this, or I can't lose that, just breathe. Ask yourself, what identity am I trying to protect right now? Is it the I am right identity? Is it the I am in control identity? Recognizing the fuel is the first step to letting the fire of suffering go out. You are not the labels. You are not the stories. You are the awareness that sees it all. And that awareness, my dear friends, can never be lost. Shall we continue to part 4, the hidden costs of holding on, where we talk about the closed fist and the exhaustion of trying to keep the world still? I am so glad you are still here with me, leaning in. It shows that your heart is ready to look at things we usually try to hide from ourselves. Let's take another breath together, a deep one. Because what we are about to discuss requires a very gentle kind of honesty. Part 4, the hidden costs of holding on. Most people believe that suffering only arrives when we actually lose something. We think the pain is at the end of the story, when the house is sold, when the health fails, or when the funeral is over. But if you look closely at your own life, you will see a much more subtle truth. The suffering doesn't wait for the loss to happen. The suffering begins the very moment we start to grasp. I want you to imagine something with me right now. Imagine you are holding a handful of beautiful, fine sand. It's warm and golden. Because you love this sand so much, you are terrified of losing a single grain. So you squeeze your hand into a tight fist. I want you to really feel that in your mind. The tension in your fingers, the strain in your forearm, the way your whole body begins to tighten around that one fist. Now let me ask you, are you enjoying the sand? No, you can't feel its warmth anymore. You can't see its beauty. All you can feel is the effort, the anxiety, and the exhaustion of the grip. This is exactly what we do with our lives. We hold our children, our reputations, and our certainties with a closed fist. And the cost of that grip is staggering. The first cost is the loss of the present moment. I once knew a man named Robert, a very successful architect here in the city. He had a beautiful daughter, and he told me, I love her so much that I spend every night worrying about her future. I worry about her getting hurt. I worry about who she'll marry. I worry about her being alone. I told him, Robert, while you are busy worrying about her future, you are missing her childhood. When we cling, we are never fully where we are. part of us has already traveled to a dark, imagined future where the thing we love is gone. We are not holding our loved ones. We are holding our fear of their absence. The second cost is that clinging turns love into a transaction. When we grasp onto someone because we need them to be a certain way for us to feel okay, we stop seeing them as a human being. We start seeing them as a source of our own security. Underneath the surface, we start making silent demands. I will love you, but you must never change. You must never leave. You must always make me feel significant. But life is not a statue, and people are not our property. When we squeeze a bird too tightly because we love its song, we eventually crush the very thing that makes it sing. And then there is the utter exhaustion. Think about how much energy you spend every single day trying to keep things from changing, trying to control what people think of you, trying to hide your aging, trying to make sure every project at work goes exactly as planned. It is like trying to hold back the tide with a plastic bucket. It's no wonder we feel so tired, so burnt out, so heavy in our souls. The Buddha used the word dukkha to describe this. Many people think dukkha means pain, but its deeper meaning is unsatisfactoriness. It's like a wheel that is slightly off-center. No matter how fast you go, there is always a jarring vibration. That vibration is the tension of the closed fist. Even in our happiest moments, a beautiful vacation, a wedding, a promotion, there is often a tiny, whispering voice in the back of the mind saying, "I hope this lasts. Please don't let this end." That whisper is the sound of the fist starting to close. And in that moment, the pure joy of the experience is poisoned by the fear of its passing. I want to ask you, my dear friend, what are you holding so tightly today that your hand is starting to ache? Is it a grudge you won't let go of? Is it a version of yourself that no longer exists? Is it the need to be right in an argument with your spouse? I want you to know that it is okay to be tired. It is okay to admit that the grip is too heavy. The closed fist is a natural human reaction to a world that feels unstable. We do it because we want to be safe. But the great irony of the spiritual life is this: safety does not come from the grip. Safety comes from the strength of an open hand. When you open your hand, you might lose the sand, but you gain the entire beach. You gain the freedom to touch, to feel, and to move without the crushing weight of must. The cost of clinging is paid every single day in the quiet tension of your shoulders. Isn't it time you stopped paying that price? Are you ready to move to part 5, the path of seeing, where we learn how to actually train the mind to soften its grip? I am truly moved by your openness to stay with me through this. Now that we have seen the exhaustion of the closed fist, the natural question arises: how do I stop? How do I let go when my fingers seem to have a mind of their own? Let's explore this together, not as a command, but as a gentle training. Part 5. The Path of Seeing. One of the most common mistakes people make when they start a spiritual journey is trying to force themselves to let go. They tell themselves, I should be more detached, or I must stop being so emotional. But let me tell you a secret. You cannot let go by using your willpower. If you try to force your hand to open, you are just using one kind of tension to fight another kind of tension. It's like trying to wash off blood with more blood. The Buddha didn't ask us to force anything. He asked us to practice. He offered a structure, a path, to create the conditions where the heart feels safe enough to relax on its own. Think of it like a beautiful garden. You cannot force a flower to bloom by pulling on its petals. You can only provide the right soil, the right water, and the right light. The soil of this path is what we call virtue, sila. It sounds old-fashioned, but it's deeply practical. If you live a life of honesty and kindness, your heart becomes a quiet place. When you don't have secrets to hide or regrets to run from, your mind doesn't have to stay on high alert. quiet heart is the foundation of a soft grip. The water of the path is concentration, samadhi. This is the ability to keep your attention right here in the present moment without being swept away by the winds of what if. I once worked with a veteran here in the States who suffered from deep anxiety. He told me his mind was like a runaway train. We practiced a very simple technique. Every time he felt a surge of fear, he would just name it. Thinking, or tightness. By naming the experience, he stopped being the experience. He became the observer. This leads us to the light of the path, which is wisdom. This is the most transformative part. In the ancient texts, the Buddha tells us to ask a very specific, almost surgical question when we feel the urge to cling. He asks us to look at the thing we are grasping and ask, is this mine? Is this what I am? Is this a permanent self? Imagine you are walking down a path and you see what looks like a dangerous snake. Your heart races, your body tenses, you are ready to fight or fly. But as you get closer, the light shifts and you see it's just a piece of old, frayed rope. In that split second of seeing the truth, does someone have to tell you to stop being afraid? No. The fear vanishes instantly because the seeing corrected the knowing. This is the path of seeing. When you sit in meditation, or even when you are just sitting in your car in traffic, I want you to look at your emotions as events. Notice a feeling of anger. Instead of saying, I am angry, say, anger is arising. Watch it. Does it stay the same? Does it have a shape? Does it have a temperature? As you watch it with curiosity instead of judgment, you will notice that it doesn't obey you. It came because of conditions. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic, and it will leave when those conditions fade. If it doesn't obey you, how can it be you? If it is constantly changing, how can it be mine? When you truly see that thoughts and feelings are like clouds passing through a vast sky, the grip of the mind begins to soften. The hand starts to open, not because you told it to, but because it realizes there is nothing solid enough to hold on to. This is a gradual process. It's a practice of a lifetime. Don't be discouraged if you find yourself clenching your fist again 5 minutes from now. Just notice it. Say, the fist is closed again. Interesting. And in that moment of noticing, the light of wisdom has already returned. You are learning to trust the flow of life more than the safety of the grip. You are moving from the struggle to hold to the grace of being. We are almost at the end of our journey today. Are you ready for the final and perhaps most beautiful part? Part 6, the alchemy of acceptance, where we see how letting go actually leads to a deeper, more courageous kind of love. I am so moved that you are still with me. We have traveled through the fog of ignorance, the exhaustion of the grip, and the training of the eye. But I don't want to leave you with the idea that letting go is just about ending things. I want to leave you with a vision of how letting go actually makes you more alive, more loving, and more connected than ever before. Part 6, the alchemy of acceptance. I often hear from my students here in America a very common fear. They say, Father, if I truly let go of my attachments, won't I become cold? Won't I stop caring about my family, my country, and my friends? I understand this fear. We've been taught that clinging is the same thing as loving. But I want to tell you that the opposite is true. Clinging is a small, narrow room. Love is the vast, open sky. When we stop trying to own life, we begin to truly experience it. This is what I call the alchemy of acceptance. It's the magical process of turning our personal grief into universal compassion. I remember a woman named Martha who lost her grandson in a tragic accident. For a year, she was paralyzed by the what-ifs and the why-him. She was clinging to a version of the world where that tragedy didn't happen, a world that no longer existed. During our sessions, she began to see that her pain was a bridge, not a wall. She realized that every person she passed on the street carried some version of that same holes in their hearts. Instead of closing her heart to protect herself, she opened it wider. She started volunteering with other grieving families, not as an expert, but as a sister in sorrow. She moved from my loss to our shared human journey. This is the shift from Anattā, impermanence, to upekkha, equanimity. Equanimity is not a flat, emotionless state. It's a heart so large that it can hold both the joy of a birth and the sorrow of a death without being shattered by either. When you see that everything is interbeing, that you are not a separate island, but a wave in the entire ocean, the fear of loss begins to fade. If you are the ocean, what does it matter if one wave disappears? The water is still there. The essence is still there. For those of you who are over 50, 60, or 70, you are in a beautiful, golden position to practice this. You have lived enough to know that you survived every ending you thought you wouldn't. You are still here. You can now love your children and grandchildren without the bargaining we talked about earlier. You can love them simply because they exist, right now, in this unrepeatable moment. You don't need them to be your legacy or your pride. You just need to be the sunshine that warms them while they are in your garden. This is love without ownership. It is the most courageous way to live. It says, I know you will change, I know I will leave, and yet I am fully, vibrantly here with you now. The alchemy happens when we realize that our vulnerability is our greatest strength. Because we know life is fragile, we treat it with more gentleness. Because we know the breath is fleeting, we breathe it in more deeply. I want to leave you with a final image. Imagine a bird landing on a branch. The bird doesn't trust the branch. It knows the branch could break at any moment. The bird trusts its own wings. Your wings are your awareness, your compassion, and your understanding of the truth. When you open the fist of clinging, your hand isn't empty, it is free. And a free hand is the only kind that can truly reach out and hold another. Thank you for listening to my stories and these ancient truths today. I hope you walk out of this lecture hall and into your life with a little more space in your heart. The world is changing, yes, but you are here to see it, to love it, and finally, to let it be. May you find peace in the flow. Conclusion. Everything changes, but in that very change, we find our freedom. Take a deep breath and feel the peace of an open hand. We have spent our lives holding on, thinking it would make us safe. But today, we have learned that true safety comes from letting life flow. You do not need to force the world to be still to be happy. Just be here, fully, softly. The moment you let go, you are finally home. Thank you for sharing your quiet time with me today. If these words brought a sense of peace to your heart, I invite you to join our journey at Son.Mindfulness by subscribing. We would be honored to have you walk this path with us. May you carry the stillness into your evening and throughout your week. I wish you deep health, lasting peace, and many gentle blessings on your path.